There is a quiet belief most people carry, often unspoken, sometimes unconscious, that intelligence is fixed, that you are born with a certain capacity, a certain ceiling, and no matter what you do, you cannot rise beyond it. This belief shapes everything: the risks you take, the challenges you avoid, the version of yourself you allow to emerge. But beneath this belief lies a profound misunderstanding of what intelligence actually is and how the brain actually works. Intelligence is not a static inheritance. It is not a number assigned at birth, unchangeable and absolute. It is a living capacity that responds to how you use it, how you challenge it, how you nurture it. Your brain is not a museum artifact, preserved in its original state. It is a garden, constantly growing, constantly pruning, constantly reshaping itself based on what you feed it and how you tend it. There is a moment, often in childhood, when you first learn what you are. Not who you are, but what. Smart or not smart. Gifted or ordinary. Quick or slow. It happens through test scores, through comparisons with siblings or classmates, through the subtle reactions of teachers and parents when you succeed or struggle. And once the label attaches, it becomes identity. If you were told you were smart, you learn to protect that identity by avoiding anything that might challenge it. If you were told you were not, you learn to accept limitation as fate. Both paths lead to the same place, a fixed belief about capacity. This belief feels like truth because it's been reinforced thousands of times through your choices and their outcomes. You avoid advanced math because you're not a math person. You don't pursue creative endeavors because you lack talent. The brain you have becomes the brain you believe you'll always have, and that belief quietly suffocates growth. The human brain did not evolve to be static. It evolved to adapt, to respond to environmental demands, to reorganize itself based on experience. This is not a minor feature. This is the central design principle: neuroplasticity. The brain's ability to form new neural connections throughout life is not something special that happens occasionally. It is happening constantly, every moment, in response to everything you do and think and experience. When you learn something new, neurons fire in specific patterns. When those patterns repeat, the connections between neurons strengthen. When they don't repeat, those connections weaken and eventually disappear. This is synaptic pruning. Use it or lose it at the cellular level. The brain you have right now is the result of everything you've practiced, everything you've repeated, everything you've paid attention to. It is not fixed by genetics. Genetics provides the raw materials, but experience sculpts the final form. Your ancestors survived not because they had the best brains, but because they had adaptable ones. Inside your brain, physical transformation happens when you learn. Synapses, the connections between neurons, grow stronger with repeated activation. Myelin, a fatty substance that insulates neural pathways, increases around frequently used connections, making signals travel faster and more efficiently. In some regions, particularly the hippocampus, new neurons are actually born throughout adulthood in a process called neurogenesis. This is not metaphor. This is biology. Every time you struggle with a difficult concept and eventually understand it, you are literally changing your brain's structure. The effort matters more than the outcome. When learning feels easy, minimal change occurs. When it feels hard, when you're confused and struggling and making mistakes, that's when the most significant rewiring happens. The discomfort is not evidence that you're failing. It's evidence that your brain is working to build new architecture. Most people avoid this feeling, mistaking cognitive strain for inadequacy. But that strain is precisely the stimulus that triggers adaptation, that forces the brain to reorganize, to strengthen, to grow more capable. Despite understanding intellectually that difficulty builds intelligence, something in you resists it. You choose the easier book, the familiar topic, the path that doesn't make you feel stupid. This resistance feels protective, feels wise, feels like honoring your limitations. But it's actually preventing the very adaptation you need. The brain is an energy-conserving organ. It defaults to the most efficient patterns, the established pathways, the familiar responses. New learning requires energy, lots of it. The brain has to build new connections, maintain them, integrate them with existing networks. This is metabolically expensive, and your brain, shaped by millions of years of scarcity, resists unnecessary expenditure. So it creates feelings, boredom, frustration, and anxiety, designed to make you stop the difficult thing and return to the comfortable. This is not a flaw. This is conservation. But in a world where survival is less about conserving calories and more about adapting to complexity, this ancient programming works against you. Comfort preserves the brain you have. Challenge builds the brain you need. The revelation is this: intelligence increases through struggle, not despite it, not random struggle, not suffering for its own sake, but deliberate engagement with material just beyond your current understanding. This is the zone where growth happens, difficult enough to require effort, manageable enough that success is possible. When you read something and understand it immediately, your brain is using existing pathways. No new connections form. When you read something and can't understand it at all, your brain gives up. No learning occurs. But when you read something challenging, struggle with it, make mistakes, correct them, gradually build understanding. That's when neural architecture changes. This requires a shift in how you approach learning. Most people seek confirmation of what they already know. They read books that align with existing beliefs, solve problems similar to ones they've solved before, discuss topics they already understand. This feels productive, but it's maintenance, not growth. True cognitive development requires seeking confusion, deliberately choosing material that makes you feel temporarily stupid, sitting with that discomfort instead of fleeing from it. Change doesn't happen in dramatic leaps. It happens through small, consistent challenges that accumulate over time. Each day you push slightly beyond your current capacity. Your brain adapts slightly. Those adaptations compound. Neural pathways that were weak become stronger. Processes that required conscious effort become automatic. Concepts that were once incomprehensible become intuitive. This is the compound effect at the neurological level. Tiny improvements in cognitive capacity, practiced consistently over months and years, creating transformation that would seem impossible if attempted all at once. The problem is that most people expect immediate results. They try something difficult for a week, see minimal progress, and conclude they lack the capacity for it. But the first weeks are the hardest precisely because the neural infrastructure doesn't exist yet. You're building from nothing. Persistence through this initial resistance is what creates the foundation for future ease. Intelligence is not revealed through practice. It is built through practice. One synapse, one myelin sheath, one neural connection at a time. What remains after you've embraced your brain's capacity for change is not what you expected. You thought it would be certainty, mastery, the feeling of being intelligent, but it's something humbler and more honest. It's the understanding that your current capacity is not your final capacity. That struggle is not evidence of limitation, but the mechanism of expansion. That the confusion you feel when learning something new is not a sign you're in the wrong place, but proof you're in exactly the right place. You still have moments of feeling inadequate, of doubting your intelligence, of wanting to quit the difficult thing. But you no longer mistake those feelings for facts about your potential. You recognize them as temporary states, as the growing pains of a brain reorganizing itself. The intelligence you've built is not a destination, but a direction. Not something you have, but something you're perpetually constructing. And that knowing, that your mind is unfinished and always will be, that growth is possible at any age, through any starting point, changes everything.